Hi, today I'm, as part of the Business Spotlight interview, I'm with Eddy O'Shaughnessy. He's a franchise owner of Juice Plus Company, and he's also involved in the European launch of Tower Garden. So over to you, Eddy. What do you do, and for how long have you been doing it?
Okay, so maybe we'll start with how long. So about 30 years ago, 30 years ago,
Wow.
I was working full-time as an accountant with a company here locally. But unfortunately, but I'd also opened up two record shops. So I suppose I was interested in, well, I was interested in music, but I was also interested in business.
Yeah.
I'd set up one here at home, and I set up another one then maybe about a half an hour away.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they weren't as successful as I had envisaged, and also because I had to borrow a lot of money from the bank. So I borrowed for the first one, got inspired to open a second one, borrowed for the second one, and then ultimately it transpired that my salary, if you like, was propping up the repayments. So I was in a bit of a bind. So I was looking for other ideas. I kind of looked a lot at kind of import-export, which was kind of topical or big at the time. I looked at loads of things. But by chance, something came across my desk that kind of caught my eye. It ultimately became what I do today.
Mm-hmm.
I started it kind of very, very part-time, and as I say, initially it was just really to get me out of the financial bind that I had gotten myself into. But as I learned more about it, and I began to kind of see how I could develop it, it became a huge part of my life and just basically changed everything for me really over the years, you know.
Fantastic. And which one is that, Eddy? Is that the...
So so I took out a franchise with the Juice Plus company. They're an American-based company. So
Okay.
we're involved in the whole health and wellness, healthy eating,
Okay.
nutrition, that whole area, which I
Fantastic.
knew first of all, I knew nothing about it.
Okay.
Also the business model, so to speak, was completely different from anything I'd ever come across.
Wow.
So I had to learn a lot, and it's one thing I've come to know over the years, that being teachable is crucial in especially in my business anyway.
Fantastic.
If you're not teachable, because I deal with a lot of other people and I mentor a lot of people, but I find that the people who are teachable are far more successful than the ones who aren't or choose not to be, maybe, which is kind of maybe where I was at. I kind of had this notion that I kind of knew it all at the start, but that cost me, like in business, it cost me a year of development.
Yeah.
But when I finally realized I needed to shut up and listen, maybe things started to change.
Yeah, I can relate closely to that, Eddy. When I started this franchise, I had a similar mindset, shall we say, and I found that to be expensive over a period of maybe 6 months to a year. And then when I, again, as you say, once I started to get rid of the I know and replace it with, how do I do that, or how can you help me with that? Things started really moving,
Yeah.
Fantastic. So who is your best customer or type of customers, a range of customers?
Well, we deal directly with the end user, with the consumer.
Yeah.
And our, I suppose, if you want to call it a typical customer, which is it's pretty varied, but obviously the number one would be somebody who's health conscious, somebody who's interested in having a healthy lifestyle, eating healthy, having their family eat healthy. So the whole nutrition, health and wellness area.
Okay.
I used to think at the beginning that the guy sitting up at the bar drinking 10 pints and smoking 50 fags was my ideal customer, because he really needed to hear what I had to tell him. But I quickly learned, I mean, not that quickly, I eventually learned that he wasn't tuned in maybe to the degree he possibly should be. So I ultimately now it has become health conscious people, so people who exercise a bit, maybe people who go to the gym or whatever, or who look to eat healthy or are looking for ways of improving their nutrition, their health, their lifestyle,
Okay. So fantastic. So yeah, so the age group would be any age group, would it be? Or
yeah. Oh God, yeah. Like, I mean, boosting your immune system today everyone is talking about it, but it's always been important, and that's what we do, and it doesn't matter what age you are. And on the younger end of it, then we have a program for parents whereby we called Healthy Starts for Families, where parents can get it free for the nutrition free for their kids.
Okay.
So it's all ages really, and my oldest, I'd say, customer, would be maybe in his 70s now.
Wow.
He's been a customer of mine for over 20 years.
Wow.
He's just like he himself would tell you like that he feels a lot younger than 70 because he looks after his health. I mean,
Fantastic.
we all know that's important, you know.
Fantastic. Yeah, and knowing it and doing it, I suppose, is the big thing. Yeah.
Well, doing it, yeah, but like the program we have makes it easier to do. But everybody knows that's the thing. Everybody knows what to do, but not everyone does it, obviously. You know?
Yeah, and you facilitate people to do that, basically. Yeah. Fantastic. That's absolutely brilliant. Were there any business changes you had to you considered that COVID-19 made a necessity?
Well, interestingly enough, my business has been online for many, many, many years. And like I was on Zoom when most people, I'm not saying that in any other way other than I just happened to be on Zoom before most people were aware of Zoom. I actually had to set up a little document to show people how to log on and what Zoom was and how to download it and all that, because nobody knew what Zoom was at the time. So when Zoom became popular, I've been using it for many, many years. But the one thing I have learned over it is today now, I do more business now like this through like online, whereas before I literally jump in the car and drive. So it has taken me off the road, so to speak, to a large degree. It's more flexible, and I'm sure, like yourself, you can do a lot more meetings in a day online than you could physically moving around from city to city or whatever, you know.
Yeah, 100%. My business changed completely again. And I suppose the other thing, you know, along with health and well-being, I suppose the sustainability of the planet and, you know, the fact that we're not jumping in cars and pollution into the air is another, you know. Another guy I was talking to, I hadn't realized it, but it was obvious when he said it, was there's now an ISO standard for sustainability for companies. So what he was saying was they would get customer inquiries and they'd be jumping in a van to go up and sort them. Now they kind of deal with everything over, you know, they can do it over the computer, or if they absolutely have to, they cut it down to kind of 1 day a week. And it's you know, it also helps with that, you know, so which is great. So I presume the next question I have is you know the actions you're taking because of the pandemic. What are some that will remain part of your business? I mean, it's going to continue on, I presume, the way you click on it.
Yeah, I mean, having said that now, I mean, I'm a huge fan of face-to-face.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just old school, but I'm a huge fan of eyeballing someone. And even today, if I'm dealing with someone over a long period of time, while I do most of it online, every now and again, I'd like to sit down maybe and have a coffee with them. I think in business, well, for me anyway, in business, that you have to have that what I would call the personal touch. But going forward, yeah, I mean, obviously online is just more flexible. And as you say, it's more sustainable. And like part of what I'm doing it currently as well is I'm involved in the launch of a new project. It's called Tower Garden. It's a European launch. We've already had it in America, but it's in the area of sustainability. It enables people to grow their own food at home, be it on a small scale or a large scale, and it eliminates like carbon footprint, air miles, plastic packaging, all that area. So sustainability is something I'm more and more into as well. But to answer your question, yeah, I will continue online, but I would like always, if possible, on the international scene, maybe not so much, but kind of locally around Ireland, yeah, definitely to every now and again, maybe to meet somebody face to face, I believe is big help, because it's like business, as you well know, business is about relationships, and it's about building relationships, and it's fine, you can do it online and all that, but we're all superstars online, and everyone is amazing online, you know, and on social media. But I think when you meet somebody, you get more of a feel for the person, and you can connect with them better, and that's something I'd still like to do, you know.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, and again, I can relate to that, because I know if I'm taking on a client, I do like to meet them at least once. But then, after that, once we've done that,
Yeah.
we can carry on, sort of thing, online. So I'm sure you've had hundreds of learnings, but what's your biggest learning since you've been a business owner?
Well, I just come back to what I said earlier about being teachable. That was the number one for me, is
Mhm.
the day I realized that I wasn't teachable and I admitted it to myself. That was huge, huge learning for me. And trying to get other people in to understand that principle as well has been kind of a mission I've been on for all those years. So in business, there's loads of, I mean, for me anyway, I realize it'll never happen as fast as you think it'll happen.
Right.
I've also learned that I get into the whole concept of goal setting. I read a book on goal setting many, many years ago. I'd never before come across it. Everybody has this kind of notional idea of it, but when you actually break it down, and the difference it made when you actually specifically work out your goals and your activity plans around your goals, and you put deadlines on them so you can track whether you're on track or off track or whatever. That became a huge learning for me as well, because as I say, I mentor a group of people as well, and it's something we constantly do. And accountability is another big one. I mean, there's loads of them, but accountability is a huge one, because we all say stuff and we all believe we mean stuff, but when you're actually accountable, maybe to somebody or a group, whichever, it really puts you have to get focused and you have to tune in, and you can't just be saying things just for the sake of saying them, like, because if you're accountable, then you need to tune in and then get focused and get stuff done,
Fantastic. Couldn't agree more. I mean, that's the found. All of those things you mentioned are foundation stones, if you like, for the whole business coaching that we do, and constantly learning about and constantly updating on. So any offers to include in the newsletter
Well, as I mentioned, I'm involved in the launch of Tower Garden across Europe, to help with the expansion. We've opened up the franchising element. So I'm actually looking for people who may be interested in an online business, who would also be interested in the whole sustainability area, healthy eating, etc. I'd love to chat to them, because we're, like, as I say, we've been doing this in America and Canada for about 12 years. We've just launched in Europe, and then we're doing the commercial end of it, which we call Tower Farm, on a global scale. So it has huge opportunities, it's huge potential, and I believe, to go back to COVID, we've learned from COVID, like, that the supply lines, there's a lot of stuff that we took for granted that we can't really take for granted anymore. Availability of food, the whole scene with plastic packaging and pesticides being sprayed onto stuff, and the quality of the food we eat. So I believe it's a huge opportunity, but again, we're looking to expand it. We need a bit of help with that project. So I'd be open to chatting to anybody who's interested in that particular area, maybe about getting involved in the expansion.
Fantastic, Eddy. That's great. And I suppose, just to finish up, and again, I think you probably have a load of things, but what is most inspiring to you today?
Well, I see the younger generation. Now technology comes into it, maybe to a part, but I believe today, at a younger age, people have bigger aspirations now, maybe, than people of my age had at the same age. I believe today people, I suppose because of the internet, and suppose because they have access to so much information, people have bigger goals set for themselves at a younger age. And the other side of that is there's no excuse anymore now, because there's so much information available. There's so much stuff you can download. Like, you don't even have to go out and buy a book now anymore, and a lot of this stuff is free. And a lot of stuff I used in the early days, I just got free, like a lot of email stuff that you could subscribe to that was coming in free, and you were picking up a lot of motivational and inspirational type information. But I think people today at a younger age are getting access to that, maybe through social media. They're becoming more aware of it, and I think that's changing the whole business scene as well, because you see now a lot of the new startups, especially the tech maybe companies, they're very young, they're very ambitious, they're very driven, And it's great to see it, like, and it's really inspiration, and I believe it's something that's going to get bigger and bigger, you know.
Fantastic, Eddie. Listen, Eddie, it's been great chatting to you today. And thanks again for taking the time. And we'll be, I'm sure, chatting in the future. Take care.
Absolutely. Okay, thanks, Kevin.
Bye-bye.